Okay, Burton, just like to start off with when you were born and were you born in Schreiber, your name?
I was born in Schreiber on December the 21st, 1931 on Ontario Street, and Dr. Crow was the doctor and Earl Dean Gray was the nurse.
Okay, so
my dad was working at Cavers and the highway gang at the time. There was no trains, no highway there then, so he walked all night to get to home.
Must have been a happy man when he got home then.
Well, no, I was born just as he got there.
Okay, good. So you were born in your house?
Yeah.
All the deliveries from the house. Were your parents or grandparents born in Canada?
My dad and mother were both born in Canada. My dad was born in Arnstein, south of North Bay, and my mother was born in Summerside, Prince Edward Island. And my dad came to Schreiber with my aunt and uncle, worked on the railroad.
Okay. How about, when did you get married, Burton? And what's your wife's name?
January the 27th, 1954. And the first time I ever saw Maureen, she was walking down by where the medical center is now. And she had a nice maroon colored cardigan sweater, a white blouse and brown slacks. And I thought, that's a good girl for me. And so I was driving a truck at the time and I asked her if she'd like to go for a ride to Olson's Cut. I had to pick up some men. And we got there and talked for a little bit. She says, well, where are these men? I said, there's no men. I just wanted to talk to you.
Did you run out of gas?
No.
No.
So then she said, well, take me home. So that's where it started.
Okay, good. Did the parents like you when you brought her home?
My dad and mom, they liked Maureen, yeah, very much. My old Aunt Min, who lived next door, Maureen knew her before she knew me, and they used to pick blueberries together in the graveyard. So Maureen fitted into our family pretty well.
Good. What was your favorite memory of growing up in Schreiber, Burton?
Holy God, you got all day? I think the friendship of all the young people. None of us had no money. It was Depression times, and things were tough. And to get a chocolate bar, I went with my dad always down to Spadoni's store. And Mr. Spadoni, Gino Spadoni, would give you an old Henry chocolate bar. And I was growing up then. I said, if I have to buy a car when I get older, I will buy it from Spadoni's. And I did. 1950, I bought my first car.
Good.
But we played a lot of street hockey. What you don't see today is the kids up the mountain behind the police station. You never see a kid going up there. We were up there all day. We were building shacks and taking a wire and climbing it on a tree and going across to the next thing. I don't know what you call it, a trapeze, I guess, of some kind. And we had a lot of fun. Girls and boys, we all played hockey together on the street. And we'd have tournaments between the north end and the south end, and you go up by the main street.
So North End, is that the same as it is now?
No, there was no houses there. There was no houses where the Manitoba Street, there was nothing on there. The rink was vacant property. Down where Bobby Krause on that street, there was one or two houses there at the time. And north of that, there was nothing.
How about bakeries?
Scott's Bakery was there, and
Whereabouts was it?
Where Spadoni's office was, when most of you people would remember, and on Manitoba Street. And he had horses, and he kept them in the back, behind Spadoni's garage where it used to be. And he sold feed and bread. And we went to Scott's Bakery. There was always a loaf of bread there. And Mrs. Scott was a very nice lady. She'd whack off a hunk of that bread, put some butter. You want peanut butter or jam? There were big pots of peanut butter and jam there, and away you go down the street.
Was she charged? Was there a price?
No charge. You bought a loaf of bread for 10 cents.
Okay. How about the YMCA? Can you tell me about that a bit?
Yeah, the YMCA, we used to, well, that was more for older people. And as kids, we didn't get into the Y unless we went with our parents or somebody, because there was a lot of single old guys lived there, and it was a good place. If we went to eat, as we got older and we went to dances and that, you could go there 24/7 and have something to eat. And Mrs. Cash was there at night, and she did a good job looking after us kids. And
How about pool halls?
Pool
Did you
hall,
play much pool when you were a
Garrity's
kid?
had a pool hall and Spadoni's had a pool hall. And when I was growing up, Mr. Rumry, Jack Rumry's dad, run the pool hall. And we had to be 18 years old to get in there. And then Garrity had a pool hall where us kids could get in under 18, and it was down the back lane there about where, right around where John Severio lives now, behind that store there was Garrity's pool hall.
Okay. Do you remember any of the pool games you guys would play? Would you play
Well,
for
we
money
used
or?
to play snooker, and then we used to play life, which was, you got 4 lives, and you kept shooting, and you had to take the other guy's ball off.
How much would it cost to get into a game of life?
$1.
So how old were you then?
Oh, 17.
So it's quite a bit of money, $1 to
Yeah,
get into
it
that.
was, but you end up walking over there if you won with $30 or so.
So it was worth it. Was there an order how you could play? Like life, or was it just first come, first serve, we get in, or did you
Well,
have to?
just first come, first served, yeah.
What can you tell me about the CPR station as growing up as a kid?
Well, when we were.
Apparently there was a restaurant there, was
Yeah,
it?
well, the restaurant was in the CPR station, and I can't remember who ran it before Muggs and Mrs. McQuaid. We'd go over there. I think everybody in Schreiber went to the station in the morning or the evening to watch the passenger trains come in. That was a big deal. You'd go over there and watch all the people, and I worked in the baggage room after I got older in 1949, and there was an old fella here, Tommy Boland, and I never forget this as long as I live, and Tommy stuttered. And this fella got off the train and he walks up and he said to Tommy, he said, could you tell me what town this is? And Tommy walked away from him. Somebody said to Tommy after, he said, how come you didn't answer him? Do you think I want to get my face slapped? So anyway, we used to spend a lot of time at the CPR station. And
Okay.
I worked there for 2 years, 49 to 51. I worked in the baggage room there on night shift.
You mentioned you played a lot of road hockey, but was there other sports you played, or?
Oh, skiing and
Okay, so where would you ski?
down the hill behind the police station.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, there was no police station, no highway or
right.
nothing, and we could go right into where Goff Birch or Brian Birch's dad and mom's house.
Mm-hmm.
And I just lived across the street, so we'd come skiing down there, and you'd ski right, you'd go right pretty near to home. But
Yeah.
the streets weren't plowed until later years. I can't remember what year they first plowed them, but Ackleton plowed them first. And then Milty Winters plowed them, and I plowed them myself in 48 and 49.
Now, prior to plowing, what did they do with the streets?
Rolled them down with a big roller.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would that make a mess in the spring? Were you
Yeah,
have-
that was and Mr. Benny Daniels' dad lived behind the old rink in Schreiber, and he used to make us a toboggan slide coming off the second hump of the rink.
Mhm.
And we go across the street and over to where Gwen Hadley lived and bump into her fence and get in trouble. And
How about fishing?
I did an awful lot of fishing. I was a lucky one. My uncle had a job during the Depression. He had an outboard motor and a boat. We fished in Walker's Lake in the early spring and Lake Superior in summer. And then we picked blueberries when they come out. And
Okay.
that was, you'd go over to the station and you'd maybe sell a 11-quart basket of blueberries for $1.25 if you were lucky.
Get your game of life.
Yeah.
Now, swimming, was
Well, there was swimming
was there
lessons.
diving boards around or whatnot?
Yeah, at King's Dock, where well, Irene Williamson used to have her camp right in front of there was King's Dock, and we all gathered there and jump off there. And
So whose camp would that be now? Where would that, was it the other side of Walker's Lake?
Yeah, across from Mechatans in that area.
Okay.
Uh,
Oh, because the highway wasn't there then, is that
no, the
right?
highway went right around where Mechatan lives in Don Reed.
How have things changed since you were a child in Schreiber as you see kids now and then?
Well, the kids now, you see them going down the street and they're punching on some kind of a gadget that I don't know nothing about. It's too, and we never had nothing like that. And it was, we were outside playing, and whether it was rain, well, not raining, but snowing or blowing or, and spending an awful lot of time down at Crooked Creek fishing down by the North Shore mine.
Okay, right.
Worthington Bay there. And spent an awful lot of time down there.
Can you remember what that mine was like?
My
down?
dad worked there, but all I remember about was an old watchman down there, and he gave them permission at the post office for a few of us young fellows, Norman Bottom, myself, Norman Glad, that lived on the east end of town, pick up his mail and we'd take it down to him on Saturday, and everybody called him Uncle.
Okay.
And I don't know, maybe you have heard about him before, but he was a pretty nice old guy. And we went down there one time with his mail, and Porcupine had chewed his toilet seat. And so anyway, the next week we come down, and he always had a little lunch for us, and he said, "Boys, you gonna stay and have some lunch today?" "Yeah, okay." So anyway, after we're finished, he says, "Well, that was the little fellow that ate the toilet seat." We ate the porcupine. And we used to go to Walker's Lake up in Paul's Point and jump off there. And one time Norman Glad pushed me off there, and I couldn't swim very good, and I darn near drowned. And Jacqueline went, she realized that I wasn't fooling. So she reached out, she grabbed me by the hair and pulled me to shore. That's Ron Watkins' wife now, and I think she just died a couple of years ago. But I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her.
How about now? Do you have any hobbies?
Me?
Yes.
Oh, go for coffee in the morning. All our friends, our husbands, Giovanni's dead, and Norman Glad, and Helen, Don Nealon, Mike Smelski, they're all dead. We're all friends, and we go out to eat. And I say, "Well, I'll pick you up." So one day, I think it was Marcella, said, "Oh, we'll have to call this car the Widow Wagon." So that's what my car and everybody calls it. "Where's the Widow Wagon?" And we laugh about it. It's sad, really, when you think of it. All their husbands are dead, and you know, the poor girls have, like Marcella told Maureen and I, that if it wasn't for us, she don't know what she'd have done, because she didn't get out much, and we went and hauled her out of the house and take her for coffee and gossip and all that, you know. And very good.
Good. How about building? Have you built?
Oh, geez. Every time I got mad at Imperial Oil, I built something. I remodeled a home on Ontario Street where Roger Trombley lives. I revamped that. The garage where Jim Payne lives, I built that with my dad. And where I don't know who lives in Hubert Weaver's house, my dad and I built that garage. And when I was a kid, my dad had a fancy plane, and people would come to the house, and my dad, he'd bring a piece of baseboard. My dad would make baseboards for them because he could have a Stanley 45 plane. And myself, and then I done a bit of carpenter work when I was laid off on the railroad. Kitchen cupboards and roofs, and I built my own home over on Winnipeg Street. I built my summer home out in White Sand Lake. And I've done an awful lot of building in my day. I still like to putter around. Dean come out, my nephew come out there about 3 months ago, wanted to know I'm making a door frame for him. I said, "Geez, Dean, I haven't built one of them in a long time." We went down in the basement, we got it done.
Good. Burton, as you know, I'm the principal of the public school. Could you maybe tell me some stories about what it was like as you as a student? I've heard a few of them. So.
Giovanni Sabario and Billy Madge and myself, we were down in the, I don't know how many would remember the old public school, but they had washroom or cubicles for the toilets, and the urinals were over, and we were playing around, and we were up on the top of the toilets running around, or not the toilets, the cubicles, and Mr. Irma caught us and hauled us up, and Giovanni Sabario, "I won't do it no more, Mr. Irma, I won't do it no more." And Billy Madge and I were just laughing about that a couple of weeks or a month ago, I guess now.
Did your parents ever find out?
No.
No, you never phoned home?
So anyway, one other day, Benny Daniels and I decided, it was at this time of year, and we decided we should go to Cook's Lake fishing, play hooky from school. So away we go to school, and at the time, Mr. Irma was our teacher. We were about, well, in grade 8, how old you'd be, and so anyway, he had a student teacher there with him, and the next thing we're up at Cook's Lake, and we're laying on the dam there looking down and jigging our line, and somebody says, "Shouldn't you boys be at school?" And there's Mr. Irma. He walks all the way from Schreiber to Cook's Lake, hauled us back to school. We had to stay in an hour for every day for a week or something after school, punishment for that.
Did you ever bring him fish after that?
No, we fished, not supposed to fish in Cook's Lake. I heard a little story about one of my friends died, Wally Richardson, and I guess his niece got up to give the eulogy, and she said, well, Wally never fished in Cook's Lake. He used to throw a plug of chewing tobacco in, and when they come up to spit, he would dip them out.
How about the tennis courts?
I never played tennis, I couldn't tell you how.
Could you remember the tennis
Oh
courts?
yeah, I
There's quite a few
remember
tennis
behind
courts.
the United Church and behind where the old fire hall is. And I remember that, and then there was, lately, I think Kim was behind it, built a tennis court over there, but I don't know nothing about that game.
Okay. I just often remember Johnny McIsaac telling me the story about when he played the Wimbledon champion when he was 15. So, how about track and field? Do you remember the track that used to be
Yeah,
there?
yeah, I never had much to do with that either.
You're kidding?
No, I wasn't a runner, I was a busher.
Yeah. But do you remember, like,
Yeah,
I
I remember
must have seen
the-
pictures where the
yeah,
crowd seemed to be
yeah,
pretty big.
Yeah, there was lots of good athletes in Schreiber at the time.
Also, I heard a story about when you guys were in grade 8, you got hauled out to fight a forest fire
Yeah,
during the war.
anyway, the forest ranger come in and Mr. Ermel says, now all you guys stand up. So we all stood up, and it was the bigger ones, so you go. You're going fighting bushfire. Well, then the next bunch was you, and you go. Well, I was in the third bunch. All I got as far as pace plat. But I had lots of dealings with the ministry after that, fighting, delivering fuel to them for bushfires and things like that.
And when did you start delivering fuel?
August
57.
August 57.
Okay. Do you have any stories about that? What happened
Oh,
on deliveries? You must have a couple of delivery stories, or do you want to go
Well,
on tape with them?
I was putting on, when I started with Imperial Oil, I was putting a roof on Dougie May's house where Henry Schroeder lives now. And Doug worked on the railroad, and he didn't have any better turn on the road than I had, so we didn't have much money, and these two guys come up and they asked, first thing they said, they drove up a nice fancy car, and are you interested in the future, Mr. Phillips? And I says, yeah, I am, but, so the first thing I thought of, no offense to anybody, I thought of Jehovah's Witnesses, you know. So anyway, I said, well, I can't talk to you because this guy don't have much money and I gotta work. I said, you wanna talk to me, come down to my house, and I told him where I lived, and I would be there at 8 o'clock at night. So these two guys come in. Well, I said, asked me and told me then what it was, and I said, yeah, I'd be interested, but I haven't got very much money. So anyway, I got an old dump truck. They took that as a trade-in, and that was started me off in the fuel business. But
Do you have any interesting delivery stories?
oh yeah, lots of them.
Tell us one or two.
I
I know you told me one. I don't think you want to go on tape with that.
I used to go to Heron Bay a lot with fuel, well, sometimes twice a week, and Bo Ballard, retired railroad conductor, and he said, where are you going, Burton? I was loading the truck, and he come to pay his oil bill, and I said, I'm going to Heron. Oh, he said, I wouldn't mind going for a ride with you. So anyway, anybody that remembers Bo, he's very quiet gentleman, he never talked very much. So anyway, he worked with K.T. McQuaig where I was going with the fuel, and so anyway, we get there and him and KT have a little chat, and it's about 12:15, the bar is open, so KT says, go over to the hotel and I'll meet you there and we'll have a drink. Okay, told me what they were doing, so anyway. In the meantime, he phones the bartender, and Bo being a very quiet guy, he says, don't serve that tall skinny guy that's coming in, he goes crazy when he drinks, so don't serve him at all. He says, cut him off, he said, tell him. Well anyway, a little while later I went there to pick them up to come home, and Bo said they wouldn't even serve me at first. KT, I had to come in and verify I was okay. But oh, there was lots of, and one other time at Steel River Bridge, I come along there and there was two elderly ladies, and they looking, they got the jack handle in their hand and the jack to jack the car up, laying beside the car, and I thought, oh, them poor old girls. I stopped, I backed up, and got out and looked at the, I said, well, I'll change it for you, it'll only take me 5 minutes, and so I did, and about 6 weeks later, the guy from a salesman from Imperial, he said, I got a letter about you, and I said, yeah, what's that about? And he started reading it to me. These old girls had sent Imperial Oil a nice letter that of how helpful I was to them and all that. It was pretty nice.
How about dogs? Did you have any dogs attack you when you delivered Sheila?
Yeah, I had,
Did you have a trick?
Osmar had a German Shepherd, and he come at me one day, and I hit him with the pipe wrench and knocked him cold. So anyway, I thought, now I gotta go to the mill and tell that native that I killed his dog. Oh, how is he gonna accept that? So anyway, I was like, well, get finished with the oil, stuck the mill, and the dog was blinking, his eyes, and he stands up, and he went as far away from that truck as he could get. So the next time my driver, Pat Mulligan, went with the oil, and he had had the same experiences, but he would never hit the dog. And he said, I can't figure out that dog. It went so far away from that truck. So I told him. So anyway, we went to Florida. Osmar come down there, and the dog was there, and they were in the next trailer lot to us, and I went over to talk to him. The dog under the trailer, he had no part of me.
How about the Blue Lagoon?
Oh,
Did you have any stories with the Blue Lagoon?
Oh, lots of them. We used to go there at night when we were kids, and there'd be Pat Ryan and Pat Weaver and Howard Costell and Casey McBride and a whole gang of us. And we'd go in there, and one guy would buy a pop, 7 cents. And you'd sit there all night while they were drinking their pop, and when they were just about to throw you out, somebody'd order a dish of French fries. That was 10 cents. So, well, we'd have lots of good times in there. And Al Lee was the Chinese man that run it at the time. And at about 10:30, whenever he'd have stuff left over, Marine will verify it, and he'd come out with a great big plate and a couple of small plates, and something like Gilbert does now, and gives you all this Chinese food, you know, and he's gonna throw it out, so we might as well eat it. And he had 4 kids, eh, Mo?
3.
3. Dixie, Ronnie, and
Jackie.
and they were nice kids, and Ronnie was a very good hockey player.
Mm-hmm.
And getting back to hockey, a fellow by the name of Dean Cosgrove lived here. And man, oh man, I never saw in my life, you even watch those NHL players, I don't think many could skate better than Dean. He was a real good skater, and oh man, he was.
Good. How about Duke the dog? What is Duke the dog?
I don't know too much about it, just that there used to be a plaque in the Y, and above the plaque was a little mirror, and when we were kids, somebody would lift you up to see Duke, and you'd see yourself in the mirror, you know. That's about all I know about it. And I remember my dad telling me about him parking at the train, and the train stopped to see what he was, and saved some guys' lives.
Oh, okay. How about, we mentioned train, is there certain times the train would blow whistles or anything?
Yeah, well, no, when I was a kid, CPR shop, well, it was a big role of employment in the CPR shops and the car barns. And at 6:45 in the morning, the whistle blew. At 7 o'clock, it blew. 7:45 it blew. At 8 o'clock, it blew. 12 o'clock, 1:45, 1 o'clock, and 5 o'clock. It blew. And if there was a fire, the whistle blew at the shop. And that was the thing. Everybody got up and got dressed and went to see where the fire was.
Were you ever on the fire department?
Yes, I was on the
Yeah,
fire department.
I heard there was one. Were you in the department when the one pumper went down the hill?
No, that was after my.
Now, Burton, I'm just thinking, I've heard some stories about when you guys were kids unloading cement cars. And
Oh.
How would that work?
Morro Sabario would get, well, it was either 600 bags or 1,000 bags in a car of cement. Well, they give you 2 days to unload it. And man, oh man, we'd work a lot of times, Dougie May and myself, and used Sabario's truck, and you pull the cement off it was okay in the boxcar, you didn't get, but when you pulled it off the truck, the cement got on your belly and you got all burnt from the cement. And Presto logs was another thing. They used to come in a boxcar, and they were about 6 inches in diameter and about 18 inches long, and you throw them 2 at a time, and you get your fingers caught between them, and then you always had black fingernails because of the jamming them between the logs. And then Morrow would get, I worked lots for part-time, you know, after school and all that for Morrow. And
Didn't you and Dougie build some stuff at the OPP station?
well, I hauled all the cement gravel for the OPP station for Morrow, and the separate school and the public school. Yeah, and loaded that all by hand and dumped it when we got it there. But
Didn't you have to pick up the rock or do the rock?
I picked
For
up
the
the
rocks
rock,
for the,
Ray Silver and Howard Costello and myself picked all that rock out of Lake Superior for that monument that was at the police station. And I think we got $35 a load for the rock, if I remember right. And you'd be all day 3 guys, carry them up to the old highway. And there used to be at Salem, there used to be, not many people remember, but you used to come across the track and you go up on a double S up the hill, and it was quite a trek to get up the hill there. Lakehead Freightways, when they started January the 14th, 1949. Well, I was at Morro Sabarias and we helped them unload. He come in, Lakehead Freightways come in, they had about 25 sheets of gyp rock, a few bags of potatoes and a few other little things. The next day he had more, the next day he had more, and look at them today.
Yeah. And I think Morrow, was he the first car in Schreiber?
I think so, yeah. And him and Mr. Spadoni used to get in an argument for which one was the most powerful, and they'd have a contest, who could pull what. I just vaguely remember one of them, that's all, in front of the YMCA.
I'm just trying to think, could you tell us about the old hotel? Or the hotels around Schreiber?
Nick Linkwich built the Mayfair, I would say about 1948. There was no liquor license in Schreiber at the time.
So if you went for a drink, where would you have to go?
Bootlegger, or yourself, have it at home yourself. Or Rossboard,
Yeah, right, yeah.
And when I was 16 or 17, talking about where would you go for a drink, well, we had a Curly Daly, was the OPP officer. Well, he could, the bars had opened in Schreiber and had liquor now, but he couldn't go in the bar. So I was 16 and I had a driver's license, and I worked pump gas after school at Frank Ball's garage. So Frank Ball and Bob Woods, Bob Godden, and Curly Daly, they'd go to Nipigon. Frank Ball would drive to Nipigon, and then they'd give me a buck. And I could go over to the Nipigon Cafe and I could sit there till midnight, till the bar closed, and drive them home. And that was a month. So about once every 2 months I used to go on a little toot, those guys. And working at Ball's, I remember when we had the murder out at Cooks Lake coal mines there, and they brought the bodies in and they were all froze, and I was peeking through the window there, a couple of us, and old Doc Crow comes in, he gives the guy a kick. Well, he's dead. You give the other guy a kick, he's dead. He had the, what do they call him? Pronounce him dead.
Oh, the coroner.
Yeah, whatever that is. And, I remember that quite well. And Marine happened to be skiing the day that Chuck Martin skied right by them, the day he killed them.
Oh, that right?
Yeah.
Now the curling, I know you used to curl.
Yeah.
Do you have any curling club stories?
Oh, lots of that. Well, I was very fortunate. Marine and I in '64 and '65, we represented Geraldton, Nipigon, Marathon, Manitowoc. We were the winners of, and we went to the Northwest Playdowns in Thunder Bay.
Oh, good.
And
Who else was on your team?
George Riley and Frankie Cackmo, Marine and I.
Okay.
And the next year we went, I had Jack Gordon and Crystal and Marine and I. And we had lots of good. One night we went to Terrace Bay curling, and Frankie Cackamo was with us. So anyway, we looked for Frankie to come home, and no Frankie, we couldn't find her. So we looked all over the curl rink, so we come home. We go to the YMCA, and we, like before I said, and having something to eat, and then comes Frankie with Jim Clancy and Dean and another couple, and Frankie. So they all sat down and ate. By now it's about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. Well, we should go down to the curling rink. I had a key to the curling rink, so down to the curling rink we go. We have a curling game. We got home about 8 o'clock. One other time we were out of Bondsville, and Frankie and Gina run the grocery store at the time. So anyway, Frankie told Maureen, she said, come on up I'm going to make spaghetti. Come on up for spaghetti after. So anyway, they run the grocery store, and they lived upstairs. So anyway, we go over to Frankie. She's not home. So Gino's brother, he goes around the back and up the stairs and opens the front door, and we all went up, and then Jack, he went down to the butcher shop and got the saw going and sliced off a whole bunch of T-bone steaks. And when Frankie come home, what the hell are you guys doing? Well, you invited us for supper, we're making our own. Then we had a parade to see who had the bigger boobs, and the girls were all down in the store. They were getting onions and it was great foods. And we had a ball. Oh, dear.
How about the dentist? Did you have,
We had a dentist used to come.
you had a car, was there a dental car and then?
Yeah, a dental car, and man, he was a mean old goat. Oh, sit there, you little devil. He used a few adjectives in there. He's looking at no filling and all these belts and these dental drilling machines that were in there, and they get in your mouth and grind away, and oh, he was cruel.
He came through on the train,
Yeah,
wasn't he? In his own
about
car?
twice a year,
Okay.
and he'd stay about 10 days, and away he'd go. Because during the war, we didn't have a dentist, and then after the war, we had a few that come and only stayed a little while and left, and still doing the same.
Yeah. So when Dr. Crow was here, there was no hospital, obviously,
No,
because Terrace Bay,
no.
so what did he work out of?
The little long narrow like this here over by where Jack Rumry's house, where Kuzno lives.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
Not Kuzno, Sidco
Yeah.
lives over in that area. And I went for a medical there when I started on the railroad, and he's checking you for flat feet. Walk over there in the dust, your bare feet. No, you're not flat-footed. And he always smoked a great big cigar, and he cut the end off it with his scissors, and anyway, cut some bandage, and, quite a, and he was a nice old guy,
How about badminton? Did you ever play
No,
badminton?
I never played badminton, no.
But it was pretty big in town too?
Yeah,
for
it
a bit?
was, yeah, that was in Kay Gillert and Harold and Sisson and all that crew. They all played badminton. I think Marcy played too.
Where did they play?
In
Do you remember?
Town Hall. I'm pretty sure if I remember right.
Can you talk about any of the dances and parties that used to go on in the
there used to
basement of
be
the town hall?
There used to be dances all the time in the town hall. Pretty near every second weekend there was a dance. And,
First at the Masonic Lodge, did you guys ever sneak
No,
up there? Or?
the only time I was ever up in that hall was when we had union meetings.
Okay. And the dentist used to be up there
Yeah,
too, didn't
the
he?
dentist used to be up there, Dr. Thompson.
Was he better than the
Oh, yeah,
our
he
doctor?
was a good dentist. But you still, I hated to go to the dentist. That was one of the tortures of our time.
And then besides Spadoni's, there used to be a hotel and a bar there too.
Schreiber Hotel in the Mayfair. And
Yeah.
my old aunt, I had an aunt, well, like I've talked about them before, Aunt Min and Uncle Tom. And everybody in Schreiber called her Aunt Min. I don't know why, but everybody did. And one time we wanted to go out, Crocky and a bunch of them come to the house and wanted us to go out. We didn't have a babysitter. And so Maureen said, well, I'll phone Aunt Min and she'll come over. So she phoned Aunt Min, and Crocky says, everybody calls her Aunt Min. Well, Maureen says she really is Burton's aunt. She says she's, and there, she was a great hockey fan. Oh man, oh man. And she loved her hockey. And when television first come to Schreiber, I can remember our daughter Susan, she was, maybe 5 or 6. And we were going out and the hockey game started, the national anthem. Susan, stand up! And she'd stand up straight there and wouldn't breathe a breath until the national anthem was over. She worked many years at the Schreiber Hotel after Uncle Tom died for just to pass the time away at the front desk.
Okay.
Like in them days, the Schreiber Hotel, you didn't get there by 8 o'clock, you didn't get a seat, Mayfair was the same. And we were first started to go to the bar, we couldn't go to the bar, so we go to Jackfish, to us young people, and we're under 21, and we go to Jackfish, and as long as we give the bartender a tip, 25 cents every round, well, he'd bring us beer. As soon as we didn't have any more money for tips, he cut us off.
Okay, Burton, I've heard about this guy, a legend in town. I see him driving his bike around town, Diamond Ed. Is there a story about why they call him Diamond Ed?
Ed. Well, Diamond Ed.
Or who is it, Diamond Ed?
Edgar LeBlanc. Edgar was in the Navy, and when he come back, he come to Schreiber and start working in the mill. And being single, and all these girls that come in, well, he'd buy them a diamond, and they'd leave, and I don't know whether he got the diamonds back or not. I never asked him, but anyway, he just went on and on and on. So anyway, I saw his interview he done, and I told him, I said, Edgar, you didn't mention the diamond rings you bought. He says, God, I forgot. So then, like I told you, he called me over and he bought number 8, he said. And I said, what was that about? Well, Helen lost hers. So, and that's where he got his name, Diamond Ed. And he was a very good guy. We went to Nipigon curling one time, and Edgar had got led astray, and Gino was the skip, and he said, Edgar, throw the rock harder, get it over. He says, I did, but he got it over the first hog line, but he never got it over the second one. Oh, yeah.
You had mentioned hockey, and I want to get back to that. Did you guys play high school hockey, or do you have
I
any
played high school hockey. I played hockey for the, not the North Stars Colts, eh? They call them? I don't know what.
Who would you play high school hockey with?
Giovanni.
No, but what, or,
Rovers, they called it.
so what, would you go to other high schools?
Well, we'd go to Nipigon, and went to Shaplow.
Okay.
And,
By,
Jackfish. There was a rink at Jackfish at the time.
so how would you go? Would
By
you-
train.
Train, okay.
That was the only way to get out of here.
Yeah.
Well, not really, yeah. But the eastbound was the only way you could get out of here.
So originally, like Trans-Canada,
Yeah.
could you remember where you couldn't get out of, like you said, you go
Yeah,
by
I
train, so
remember.
when do you remember the
Yeah.
highway actually?
Yeah, I
opening up?
remember, like, my dad worked on the highway and he was very interested. And my uncle had had a car. So in 1937, I think it was, I was just a little 6 years old, and I can remember going to Nipigon to the opening of the bridge.
Okay.
And that was a big deal.
Mhm.
And,
And it was ferry prior to that, or just no road wasn't? the
no,
road
you
wasn't
couldn't
hooked
get
up?
if you wanted to ship your car out, you shipped it on the railroad.
Okay, how about going east?
Same thing.
Same year?
Yeah, you could only go, you couldn't even go to Terrace Bay because you couldn't get across the river.
Oh, okay, right.
You couldn't go east of Terrace Bay until about 47, somewhere. 46, I guess, when they started to build the mill.
Okay.
But there was a lot of people in Schreiber at the time, and
A lot of service clubs, were you in any
Yeah,
service
there was
clubs?
Kinsman and Lions Club. I belonged to both of them, and we done a lot of good for the town, and it really hurt me when the town wouldn't allow the curling club to have waiver the taxes and keep going. They shut her down and sold the rocks for peanuts, and a set of rocks right now is worth about $60,000 a set, and they sold them for $1,500.
Yeah, that was a good set of
for the whole
rocks.
Three sets.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the way the world goes. So.
Can you think of any practical jokes you might have played on anyone over the years?
Oh, not really. Oh, the only time I ever had a Christmas check, I met my dad downtown, and I had $540 clear, and that was a big check. And, so anyway, I give my dad $500 to take home to Marina, and I met Jerry Godden, a friend of mine, and we went into the Schreiber Hotel. Well, about 2 days later, and by the way, I'm off for miles, so I don't have to go to work. So anyway, 2 days later, I'm at Ken Young's, and I'm sitting on the kitchen counter with a baby spawning on, and the back door opens, and in come Rain. She didn't know I was there. She took one look at me. She says I passed out. But she took one swing at me, I fell off the counter. And Jerry Gunn threw me over his shoulder, took me home and threw me in bed. That's where I stayed. All in good fun.
Yeah.
Oh, we used to have a lot of fun. And then my poor old buddy Gino there, we never knew what Gino was gonna pull. And we had a lot of fun at White Sand Lake. And Joe Cackamo, he come one Mother's Day. And he said, he said, look at all these rich guys, they're feeding the kids hot dogs and hamburgers. No wonder you got money. And so anyway, he said, I got a 10-pound roast of pork in the oven for our family. And I said, good, you know. So he said this again and again and again. And he was telling us how he liked the end of the roast of pork cut off and make a sandwich with fresh bread. And I said, if he says that once more, he's not going to have that roast. So he did. I said to Ray, "Listen, drive me down to Cackamo." So he drove me down. I knocked on the door, nobody answered. Gee, he has a roast in the oven. Stick a fork in it, it's cooked. Grabbed the newspaper, picked up the roast pan, back to Gillard's I go. We cut her up and we eat in the meantime, Kay makes him a sandwich out of the both ends off the roast. Oh, I didn't know you guys were having a roast, he said. So we ate everything like vultures, just like seagulls, you know. And what are we going to do with the roast pan? I said, well, when he leaves, we'll give it to him. Joe, here's your roast pan. It's not even washed. There was a few new words in the vocabulary, but that's about, I can't tell you what the words were. But, we said, it was different then. All our kids were small. The kids would go to swimming lessons. They all come back, and I built a sauna bath. They play there all day. You don't see that now. Now what makes me really mad is I was down at the beach a couple of years ago, and there was a fella and his wife and two little kids. They put the swimming suits on the kids, and they're sitting there having a sandwich and a bottle of beer, and along comes the policeman and pinched the guy for having beer. And I was so mad about that, I could have, the guy had one bottle of beer, and that's all he had.
Yeah.
And he pinched him.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever scare Don Bino out of his cabin?
Oh, you want to hear about Don Bino? Anyway, I took some moderate drinkers with me one time to Don Bino's house. I took Burton Phillips, Otto Strasser, Jerry Godden, Frankie Cacamo, just people that had the odd drink in them days, Bino gets out of bed and comes to the door. Well, we come for our Christmas visit. So Jerry takes the top off the bottle of rye, throws it in the garden. I took the top off, and Pat kept saying, if you guys would go, we can go to bed. About 2 hours later, knock at the door, and there's one of the kingpins of the AAs. You guys have been here long enough, get out of here. But poor old Bino, we played a lot of tricks, and he always laughed at them. He had one time a duck come down my chimney at my camp. So I told Bino, I said, he said, you're crazy, they can't come down here. I said, well, he did. I caught him in time before I got it. Well, anyway, Don and Pat went away on a 2-week vacation. They left a box of chocolates at their place on the counter. 2 ducks got down there, ate the box of chocolates, flew around the camp, and you know what happens? And it was all over the walls and everything. He said, I believe you now, he said.
You didn't let the ducks in, did you?
No, I didn't let the ducks in. No, I don't think of anything else. I'll get in trouble if I talk anymore. A few years ago, Maureen and I were sitting in the restaurant at the Voyager having coffee. This gentleman came in, a bus came in, and this gentleman gets off the bus and he's looking around. He walks over to us sitting there. There was 4 or 5 of us at the table, and he said, what's the name of this town? And somebody said Schreiber. He reaches in his pocket. He pulls out a piece of paper, and he says, any of you people know this guy? And he give it to me. Look, it's got my name on it. I said, yeah, that's me. Why? Well, he said, Tom Vaughan told me, he said, if I go through Schreiber and I had trouble, this was your phone, and he had my phone number and everything on it. Now, that's a coincidence, you know?
Mm-hmm.
He was from Fort Capel, Saskatchewan.
Okay, right.
Farmer.
Mm-hmm. Good. Thank you, Burton.
My pleasure to do it.